The Ritz-Carlton in San Francisco was bathed in golden evening light. Its ballroom transformed into an elegant garden with thousands of white roses and trailing ivy. My brother Daniel's wedding to Victoria Ashford was exactly the kind of event you'd expect when a successful corporate attorney married into old San Francisco money. 400 guests, a 17-piece orchestra, and enough champagne to float a yacht. I stood near the bar, nursing a glass of wine I hadn't actually drunk from, watching couples drift past in their designer formalwear. Everyone had someone. Husbands and wives, boyfriends and girlfriends, strategic plus ones chosen to impress the right people. Everyone except me. Natalie. There you are. My mother appeared, resplendent in a rose-colored gown that had probably required 3 fittings. Her eyes immediately scanned the space behind me, searching for someone who wasn't there. Her face fell with practiced disappointment. Oh. You really did come alone. His mom. I came alone. But sweetheart, it's Daniel's wedding. Everyone brought dates. Even your cousin Jeffrey brought someone and he's been divorced twice. She lowered her voice to a stage whisper that half the nearby guests could probably hear. What will Victoria's family think? They're already concerned about our side being less established. I'm sure they'll survive the scandal of a single bridesmaid. My Aunt Susan materialized with a martini and that particular expression of gleeful malice that comes from being 3 drinks deep and having a captive audience. Poor Natalie. Still single at 34. I keep telling your mother there's someone for everyone. Maybe we could set you up with one of the catering staff? That handsome young man with the hors d'oeuvres tray looked available. The cluster of relatives around us tittered appreciatively. My cousin Jennifer, newly engaged herself, added with false sympathy, "It must be so hard watching everyone else pair off. But hey, at least you have your little tech startup to keep you company, right?" Something like that. My mother sighed dramatically. If only you'd focused on finding a husband instead of spending all that time on your business thing. You could have had a wedding like this. Daniel managed to find success in love. Why couldn't you? I checked my watch discreetly. 6:47. The helicopter should be landing on the hotel's rooftop helipad right about now. I'd told him 6:30, but traffic from Palo Alto could be unpredictable, even by air. The wedding coordinator, a severe woman named Patricia, was organizing guests for the reception entrance. Everyone please find your seats. The wedding party will be entering momentarily. I made my way to my assigned table. Number 12, naturally. Not with immediate family at the head table. Not with Daniel's college friends at the VIP tables near the front. Table 12 was in that middle distance zone reserved for relatives who didn't quite make the cut. Single cousins, distant aunts, family friends who'd been invited out of obligation. My place card sat alone, no +1 beside it. Every other seat at the table had couples. Mine screamed single failure like a neon sign. The wedding party made their grand entrance. Bridesmaids and groomsmen paired off perfectly, then Daniel and Victoria looking like they'd stepped out of a wedding magazine. The toasts began immediately, Victoria's father talking about family traditions and the importance of marrying well. Daniel's best man made jokes about finally settling down and finding the one. Then my mother stood up for the mother of the groom toast, and I felt my stomach tighten. "I'm so proud of my son Daniel," she began, her voice carrying across the ballroom. "He's achieved everything a mother could hope for. A successful career, a beautiful bride from a wonderful family, and a bright future ahead." She paused, her eyes finding me at table 12. "Not all my children have been so fortunate. But Daniel has always been the one who made the right choices." The implication hung in the air like smoke. Aunt Susan nodded approvingly. Several relatives glanced at me with expressions of pity or satisfaction, depending on their personal level of investment in my failure. "She couldn't even find a date for the wedding," my mother continued, apparently deciding that subtle implications weren't enough. "But we love all our children, successful or not." To Daniel and Victoria. 400 guests raised their glasses while I sat at table 12, the single failure who couldn't even manage a +1 for her brother's wedding. That's when I heard the commotion near the ballroom entrance. Security had entered first, discreet but unmistakable private security, not hotel staff. They were doing quick sightline assessments, coordinating with hotel security via earpieces. The kind of security detail that accompanied people who appeared on Forbes covers. Then Alexander Chin walked into the reception, and every conversation in the ballroom died mid-sentence. Even people who didn't follow tech news knew who he was. The 36-year-old founder of Quantum Dynamics, the AI company that had revolutionized machine learning and was currently valued at $47 billion. He'd been on the cover of Time magazine twice. Forbes had named him one of the world's youngest self-made billionaires. He was also brilliant, funny, and completely unconcerned with impressing anyone, which made him even more impressive. And he was scanning the ballroom looking for me. Natalie. His face lit up when he spotted me at table 12. He crossed the room directly toward me, his security detail trailing at a respectful distance. 400 wedding guests staring in stunned silence as one of the world's most successful entrepreneurs walked past the head table, past the VIP section, straight to the single failure table in the middle distance. "I'm so sorry I'm late. Board meeting ran long, then the helicopter had to circle because of air traffic." He leaned down and kissed my cheek warmly. "Did I miss the toasts?" "You missed most of them. Damn. Your mother's speech was supposed to be memorable, right?" He glanced at the head table where my mother had gone completely pale. "I wanted to hear her talk about family success." He pulled out the empty chair beside me, the +1 space that had announced my single failure, and sat down like he belonged there. Which technically he did. I just hadn't told anyone he was coming. Daniel had stood up from the head table, his face cycling through confusion, shock, and dawning understanding. Victoria looked like she was trying to calculate the social implications of having a billionaire tech founder at her wedding reception. My Aunt Susan had actually dropped her martini. Alexander noticed the attention and smiled apologetically at the room. "Sorry for the dramatic entrance. I'm Alexander Chin, Natalie's business partner." He said it casually like it was the most normal thing in the world. "We've been working together for 5 years. She's the genius behind Quantum Dynamics' entire strategic framework." The silence was so complete I could hear the ice melting in water glasses. "Business partner?" My mother's voice came out as a squeak. "Yes. Natalie is Quantum Dynamics' chief strategy officer and co-founder. She owns 30% of the company." Alexander pulled out his phone and showed the screen to the table. "Actually, we just got advance copies of next month's Forbes cover. They're featuring us as one of the decade's most successful business partnerships." The phone screen showed the Forbes cover, Alexander and me photographed in our Palo Alto offices, under the headline, "The $47 billion Partnership. How Chin and Torres Built an AI Empire." My cousin Jennifer made a small choking sound. Alexander continued, warming to his subject with the enthusiasm he brought to every topic he cared about. "Natalie is probably the smartest strategist in Silicon Valley. When I was building Quantum Dynamics 6 years ago, she was the one who saw the market positioning that everyone else missed. She designed our entire business model. I handle the technical innovation, she handles literally everything that makes the company actually work." He looked around at my family with genuine confusion. "Wait, did nobody here know what Natalie does?" She said she'd mentioned Quantum Dynamics, but I assumed she was being modest about her role. "She said she worked in tech," my mother managed weakly. "We thought she meant, like customer service or something." "Customer service." Alexander repeated the words like they were in a foreign language. "Natalie literally built a $47 billion company's strategic framework from scratch. She negotiates with Fortune 500 CEOs. She's the reason we successfully entered 7 international markets. Last year she closed a $2 billion partnership deal with 3 Asian governments." He turned to me with that crooked smile I'd seen across 1,000 late-night strategy sessions. How did they not know this? They weren't interested enough to ask questions. They were too focused on my lack of a wedding ring. Understanding dawned in his eyes. The single failure narrative. Classic. Victoria's father had stood up from the head table, his expression shifting from confused to calculating as he processed the implications of having a $47 billion company's co-founders at his daughter's wedding. "Mr. Chin, what an unexpected honor. I'm Robert Ashford. My firm handles corporate acquisitions. Perhaps we could discuss." "Perhaps another time," Alexander said politely but firmly. "I'm here to celebrate Natalie's brother's wedding, not to network." He turned back to me. "Though I have to say, Nat, this seating arrangement is insulting. They put the chief strategy officer of a $47 billion company at table 12. They put the single failure who couldn't find a date at table 12, I corrected. They didn't know about the rest. Their loss. He stood up and offered me his hand. Dance with me. I think we should make an entrance on the dance floor so everyone can get their phone cameras ready. The Forbes article drops in 2 weeks, but we might as well give your family a preview. As we walked to the dance floor, I heard the whispers exploding around us. Phones were emerging from pockets and purses, people frantically Googling my name in quantum dynamics, relatives suddenly discovering the Bloomberg articles, the TechCrunch features, the CNBC interview where I discussed our international expansion strategy. Alexander pulled me into a waltz with the easy grace of someone who'd been forced to attend too many charity galas. For the record, he said quietly, your family are idiots. You're brilliant, accomplished, and you've built something that will change the world. If they can't see that without a Forbes cover and a billionaire showing up to validate you, they don't deserve you. You didn't have to come. I told you this would be awkward. You told me your family had been dismissing your success for years and your mother was planning to announce that you couldn't even find a date. Of course I came. He grinned. Besides, I've been waiting 5 years to dramatically reveal our partnership at a family event. This was perfect timing. The song ended and suddenly we were surrounded. Daniel approached first, looking genuinely apologetic. Nat, I had no idea. You never said you were co-founder of Quantum Dynamics. You just said you worked in tech strategy. I did say exactly that. Multiple times. You weren't listening. My mother had tears streaming down her face, destroying her carefully applied makeup. Natalie, sweetheart, we didn't know. Why didn't you tell us? I tried, Mom. At every family dinner, every holiday gathering. But you were too busy being disappointed in me for not being married to listen to what I'd actually accomplished. Aunt Susan had materialized, her earlier smugness replaced by desperate social climbing. I always knew you were destined for great things, Natalie. We should have lunch soon. I have a daughter who's interested in tech careers. No thank you. Victoria's family surrounded us like sharks sensing blood in the water, all of them suddenly very interested in discussing business opportunities and investment possibilities. Alexander deflected them with practiced ease, the skill of someone who'd spent years avoiding opportunistic networking attempts. The wedding coordinator, Patricia, looked like she was having a nervous breakdown trying to figure out whether she should move us to a better table. The photographer was frantically snapping pictures, clearly realizing that the billionaire tech founder and his co-founder partner were going to be worth far more than standard wedding photos. I think, Alexander said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear, that we should get the Forbes photographer in here. They wanted candid shots of us for the feature article. This wedding reception has the perfect lighting. My mother made a small whimpering sound. We stayed for another hour, mostly because Alexander was genuinely having fun watching my family's reactions. He charmed Daniel's new in-laws with stories about building quantum dynamics, casually mentioned the company's expansion plans, and made sure everyone understood exactly how essential I was to every success. Natalie is the reason we didn't fail in year 2, he told a cluster of relatives who'd previously ignored me. She saw market trends 18 months before our competitors. She designed partnerships that seemed impossible. Honestly, I get all the press because I'm the tech founder, but Natalie is the one who built the business. As we finally prepared to leave, Alexander's helicopter was waiting on the rooftop. My mother caught my arm. Natalie, please. Can we talk? I'm so sorry. We didn't understand. You didn't understand because you didn't ask. Because you decided I was a failure when I turned 30 without a husband. Because success only counted if it looked like Daniel's corporate job and traditional life. But you're a billionaire. You own 30% of a $47 billion company. And you only care now because Alexander showed up and validated me. That tells me everything I need to know about your values, Mom. Alexander touched my elbow gently. Helicopter's waiting, Nat. We have the Tokyo video conference in 2 hours. As we walked toward the exit, I heard the chaos erupting behind us. My cousin Jennifer was crying about lost networking opportunities. Aunt Susan was explaining to anyone who'd listened that she'd always believed in Natalie really. Victoria's family was probably calculating how to leverage their new connection to quantum dynamics. On the helicopter back to Palo Alto, I finally let myself relax. Thank you for coming. You didn't have to do that. Of course I did. You're my partner, Nat. In business and in life. He smiled. Besides, watching your Aunt Susan's face when I mentioned the Forbes cover was worth the helicopter fuel alone. By the time we landed at our offices, the videos had started going viral. Multiple angles of Alexander's entrance, my mother's toast about the single failure, the moment when he'd revealed our partnership. Someone had created a hashtag #SingleFailureBillionaire. The story spread across social and business media. Tech billionaire crashes wedding to defend co-founder. Family called her single failure. She built a $47 billion company instead. One headline simply read, "The plus one who changed everything." Daniel's wedding, Victoria's perfect social media moment, became famous as the event where the bride's family discovered the single failure was actually more successful than everyone in the room combined. My phone buzzed with messages from family. Desperate apologies from my mother. Networking requests from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Even Aunt Susan sent a long email about always knowing I had potential. I deleted most of them and focused on the actual important work. The Tokyo expansion, the new AI partnerships, the strategic planning that had consumed my life for 6 years while my family dismissed it as a tech startup thing. The empty +1 chair at table 12 had been their statement about my worth. Alexander's arrival and the Forbes cover reveal was the universe's response. I didn't need their validation. I had built something that changed industries, partnered with someone who respected my brilliance, created value that would impact millions. I'd proven my worth to the people who actually mattered. And that was enough.